Hello and welcome to the Goddess Perspective podcast. This is the podcast where we're talking about spirituality, New Age controversy. We're diving into the shadow realms and discussing all things metaphysical and how you can anchor your metaphysical knowledge into the physical. We're talking reality creation, legacy building, and harnessing your internal power. I'm your host, Magical Mads, and welcome to this month's episode. Hello, friends, and welcome to this podcast episode where we are going to be exploding self-betrayal. What do I mean by that? We're going to practice the art of dissolution when it comes to self-betrayal. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to abandon yourself in the tiniest ways? I can think of a few examples where I've seen this happen to myself. And then once those tiny choices begin to build over time, it becomes this massive explosion of self-betrayal. It becomes a process of self-abandoning again and again and again. And so today I want to talk about what self-betrayal really looks like, how it shows up, not just in your mind, but also in your body, in your energy fields, and how we can finally explode it, quote unquote. So it doesn't explode on us. We can burn it down in order to reclaim our sovereignty. And that's really what we're all about here, is claiming your sovereignty. So what exactly is self-betrayal? Self-betrayal doesn't usually feel dramatic in the moment. It's really subtle, it's really sneaky. You might not notice it right away, but it's those moments where you're saying yes, but your body is saying no, or you're justifying making your decision instead of standing with yourself fully. You might silence your truth to keep the peace. You might abandon your desires because you're afraid of judgment. It's these micro choices that are stacked over time that lead to an explosion. So it looks like saying yes when your body is screaming no. It looks like silencing your truth to keep the peace. It looks like abandoning your desires because you're afraid of judgment. Those are the three key components. And here's where I want you to check in with yourself. Think of the last time you said yes when you didn't want to. What happened in that experience? Did your chest tighten? Did your stomach drop a little? Did your jaw clench? Or did your throat feel tight as you swallowed back your truth? Or maybe you immediately began to feel drained, sad, empty, unworthy. These are somatic cues of self-betrayal. Your body always tells the truth, even when you're not vocalizing it. I can count on my hands how many times I have gone through the cycle of self-betrayal. And a really good book, I can't think of the title right now, but I'll link it below so you can see it. It's a great book. But she goes into, her name is Cheri. I don't remember what the book is called. It's a longer title, that's why. But it's about self-betrayal and self-hatred. And for a while, I thought that was on me. I thought me hating myself was a me thing, but it's like also how society conditions us to treat one another. And so there are systems in place that are upholding these outdated narratives and lifestyles and ideologies that really just don't meet us anymore. And so sometimes for me, where I have experienced self-betrayal the most is with family or people who are, I want their approval. Those are the people that I'm likely to self-abandon around. And the reason for that is because I want love and affection and validation. And that is a core need of mine that didn't get met in childhood. And so because I'm aware of that, I can begin to see that and see the bigger picture and allow myself to sort through those emotions to come to a place of autonomy from them and really just allow myself to get out of that crack of betraying myself too many times. And when we build up that self-betrayal, that's when it really creates ripple effects that are long lasting or really large and explosive. I can think of a time when I was in Miami and I was working. I've actually never shared this before. I was working at a restaurant and it was like a juice bar and it was really hectic. I was having a really bad day. I was having a really bad experience. And anyway, long story short, I ended up having a panic attack kind of situation and I had to I was crying in the bathroom. It was an experience for me. And it was in that moment that I realized, "Oh, I am literally self-betraying myself right now because I am working here and I am doing this when I know that this is not what I'm meant to be doing. This is not what I'm called to be doing." And I ended up not being put back on the schedule. So it was like rejection is redirection. That was a time where I was really self-betraying myself because I was working 3 jobs at the time trying to keep myself afloat. And I was like, I know that I don't have to do this. So why do I feel like I have to do this? Why do I feel like I have to prove myself? And I had to really get to the bottom of those emotions and see myself, really just see myself, see what I'm thinking, see what I'm feeling. That part of me that is obviously feeling that for a reason, and I want to be there for it and validate it because that's what is unmet, right? That's what I then seek for in relationships if I don't attune to that myself. So we're always just trying to look after ourselves, and sometimes we do that through self-betrayal, but there is a cost for self-betrayal. And so that's what we're going to look at next. And none of these moments, they don't really feel like a big deal at first, but when they start stacking on top of each other, they form these cracks inside of you because you're not living in authenticity and integrity to your heart and your spirit. And so these cracks eventually erupt, they eventually cause issues. And I remember those times in my life where I kept betraying myself over and over again. I was justifying it. I was telling myself it was fine, that I could handle it. And then one day, everything just came rushing out while I was working, and it was just overwhelming. And I realized just how much of myself I had abandoned in the process of becoming seemingly successful or getting the approval of these people who barely even approve of themselves, right? So, the cost of self betrayal. The way that this shows up is in a few different ways. So, the cost of betraying yourself is always higher than the cost of saying no. When you say no, you honor your energy. And when we don't do this, it shows up emotionally as resentment, burnout, or numbness. It shows up physically as exhaustion, tension, even sickness, your body carrying the weight of all the times you didn't honor it. I've personally experienced this so much time. I betrayed myself so much when I was younger. I gave away my power so much, and I had such resentment and anger and frustration built up in my body, actually. I was still subconsciously and kind of consciously reliving those emotions and bringing it up into my life, and it was causing my body to react negatively, right? Spiritually, it disconnects you from your soul's path. You start living someone else's story instead of your own. You become a carbon copy. You become someone that you don't recognize. You aren't in alignment with your own integrity and values and beliefs. You may not even know what they are. You may use ignorance as an excuse, right? So this goes deep. This is damaging to the heart and the spirit. And so when we become aware of it, it's a wake up call, but it's also deeply healing. And it, to me, it represents true love because you experience being seen even in your messiness, even in your terribleness to yourself. Wow, I see you and I understand you and I honor you and I get why you thought those things were okay, and it's deeply healing for the mind, body, and spirit. So why do we betray ourselves? That's what we're going to get into next. But before we get there, notice this. Do you often feel drained right after agreeing to something? Or maybe your energy begins to collapse instead of expand when you say yes? That is your system telling you this isn't for me. This isn't aligned. Also, if you're feeling like you have to rush yourself in order to make a decision, it's likely not for you. Why we betray ourselves is because we don't recognize this. We don't recognize because we're either not aware of what's going on with our energy, or because we've numbed ourselves out so much from past experiences of the same thing. So when we can recognize, that's amazing, but when we aren't, it's because we are looking for a sense of belonging, for safety, for love. And when we give this to ourselves primarily, which is what I teach in all of my courses because it's so important, we are less reliant on others, but right, we still need that. And so it's up to us to make the decisions to put us in the rooms that align us with the people that will treat us like that will honor our needs, that will give us a sense of belonging without making us compromise our highest vision. So for most of us, when we betray ourselves, it's conditioning, childhood wounds. So we're looking for that external validation because we never got it. And we're looking for a sense of belonging. And maybe it's because we never got it, or maybe it's because it's something that we truly value, right? But a lot of us are operating out of these childhood wounds, which are the need for approval. We fear rejection, judgment, and being too much. We're afraid to be ourselves because we were never taught that it was okay to be ourselves, that the value of ourselves wasn't dependent on what we could do, but actually who we are and who we came here to be. And here's the energetic truth with this. Every time you betray yourself, your aura is shrinking a little bit. You're dimming your light, literally. You split into two. The part of you that went along, and then the part of you that is screaming inside because you're no longer in alignment with yourself. And I've said this somewhere else. I don't remember where I said it. It might have been a closed container, but I've said this before. Prioritizing your peace and your state of mind, and prioritizing a mindset and a worldview and a perspective that is one of peace. And if you are able to remedy all of the conflicts and the opposing viewpoints that are going on within you, not by validating one and dismantling another, but by accepting everything as it is, accepting that all is one. If you can do that, that is your key to a peaceful life, because you are no longer reliant on the external 3D in order to bring you peace. You are deciding to create it through your perspective. But you're probably more familiar living in the split between the part of you that is going along with the stories of others, the expectations of others, the expectations of society, and the part of you that is screaming inside. The goal of my work is to let out the part of you that is screaming inside so you can fully reclaim her and step into your power. But have you ever felt that split? That sense of watching yourself agree on the outside while the inside of you is begging for another choice? Or have you numbed it out? Do you do it so unconsciously now? That is self-betrayal in action. When we're living in a state of self-betrayal, we have an addiction to belonging, even if it's a sense of false belonging. And so if you prioritize a sense of oneness, a sense of unity, a sense of collaboration, you're going to get over that addiction to belonging because you're going to feel the belonging from within. It's like building a temple with crooked stones. You think you're keeping it standing for others, but the whole structure is unstable because your truth isn't in it. It's not rooted in anything. It's like putting up bricks without having the mortar to go in between them. So why do we do it? Well, we've just discussed this a little bit. I'd like for you to begin thinking about how this shows up in your life, how you have personally experienced this. Because now we're going to take those experiences and we're going to rewrite them. We're going to explode self-betrayal here together. And what I'm going to share with you is just a framework for inviting you into conscious awareness for the next time that something happens in your world that might cause you to go into self-betrayal. So the first step is awareness, catching those micro moments, feeling your body's cues. If you're meditating with yourself every day, if you're taking at least 5 minutes to just sit with your body every day and be present with yourself, that is going to set you up for success when it comes to awareness. This is a daily practice we want to do because that's going to build us longevity for the long term. And I know it might be like, oh, every day I have to do that. You can find different ways to do it. You can find different ways to integrate it into your routine. Walking can be meditation, reading can be meditation, literally just sitting can be meditation. I also really recommend beginning to follow your cycle if you're a woman, because if you follow the cycle, you're going to step into more awareness of yourself, of your different phases, of the way your body reacts when certain hormones are higher and lower, etc. The second step here is interruption. A pause before that automatic interaction, that automatic yes. A pause to check, am I collapsing in energy right now, or am I expanding? Meaning, do I feel closed or do I feel open? And I will say it's okay to feel closed sometimes, but own that. Own that you are closed to that, and that's okay. But sometimes when we're experiencing self-betrayal interactions where we're opting to self-betrayal, we want to interrupt that pattern. We want to interrupt before we automatically say yes to that person or automatically agree, because this shakes up reality. This changes the status quo. And the way to know how or what really, I guess, to shift is by noticing when you're speaking about it, when you're interacting, is my energy expanding or collapsing right now? And if it's collapsing, you might want to do a focus wheel on that subject. And we go deeper into this inside of the Dragon's Den, and there's resources for this inside my world, but you can also just Google focus wheel. It's an Abraham Hicks thing, and it's really great. So the main priority here is ritualizing truth. Get to know you. Journal it, record a voice note. I keep a schedule of my cycle in my phone as well as on an app. And I have it. The only reason I have it on the app is to put it into my calendar. It adds it to my calendar for me, and it's great. I'm obsessed with it. It's called the Agenda, the app. But just get to know your body. This is what we're doing inside of the Witches Coven together, and all throughout the memberships, really, because there's that somatic aspect that we do every month. Move your body till the stuckness loosens. And then you work with the explosion. You work with the way that the energy is choosing to move through you because you're choosing to move it intentionally. Write down every way that you may have betrayed yourself and burn it. Or you don't even have to do all that. You could simply just, like, if you're a ritual person, go ahead and do that because it might be really helpful for you visually and for release purposes. But you can also just begin to orient yourself in the direction of an individual who prioritizes her own autonomy and sovereignty. And by making that a value, your new standard becomes subconsciously ingrained. You begin to create those experiences for yourself. We can start doing that by declaring your new standard out loud. What is it? It's good to know what wasn't working, all the ways that you did betray yourself, because it gives you data to go off of for the actual shift into what your new standard is. What do you actually want to experience if there was no limits? This is about liberation. It's about reclaiming sovereignty. And every single time that you choose yourself, you step deeper into your own soul's architecture, which is one of the most empowering things that you can do for your life experience. And then after you have a moment where you recognize that you don't have to go into self-betrayal, you build that muscle over and over and over again, and it's really helpful for building your autonomy, your sovereignty, and eventually you'll create a life after self-betrayal, and it feels like freedom. When you stop betraying yourself, you stop inviting betrayal from others. That's key. You attract relationships and opportunities that honor your truth. And even if you do have an experience of betrayal, you're less likely to feel a lot of anger or resentment or judgment around it because you've come to peace with that within yourself, and you can extend compassion. That is so key. You'll feel lighter, clearer, more alive. The resentment dissolves. Your energy begins to expand without the need for protection. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to trust the world around you because you trust in yourself to interact in it and with it. That is also key. I'm dropping gems here. And then self-trust, it's magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. Your entire reality begins to reorganize around it. And that's where it begins to ripple and become your legacy. So to recap, self-betrayal is the silent stacking of choices that pull you away from yourself. The cost is always higher than the cost of saying no, and I can attest to this. I spent the majority of my life right now in self-betrayal, betraying myself to please others, to please society, to please my family, to please friends, people I thought were friends, right? To please societal constructs. And what did it cost me? It cost me myself. It cost me my relationship with myself. It cost me my sovereignty. It cost me my autonomy. It had me so lost deep in the ocean. I was lost at sea. Maritime Admiralty Law, if you know, you know. Shout out water eras. And then when I started to reclaim what I actually wanted, and I allowed myself to be an individual again, to have my own opinion, and to not judge others for theirs, to allow them to also have their own opinions, that's when I truly allowed myself to start living. And that's how I built a life outside of that self-betrayal. When you burn down the self-betrayal by taking it by its tail and scooping it up, making it your bitch, you reclaim that sovereignty too. And this is an initiation. Every time you choose yourself, you step deeper into your soul and your unique blueprint, what you came here to do in this lifetime. And the more that you do that, the more that you embody you and your unique energy signature, the more the world flourishes as a result. If this episode cracks something open for you, I'd love to invite you into my world, especially inside of the Dragon's Den. It's a space for people who are ready to stop betraying themselves and start living as the architects of their own reality. Until next time, choose yourself, always. Mahalo. Thank you so much for joining us on this month's episode. We look forward to connecting with you deeper. Please drop a comment, leave us a review, leave some feedback. Let us know how you received this episode. And as always, our DMs are open. The website is live, and we welcome you into our world as you come alive. Oh, and bestie, make sure you check out the description of this podcast because there's some special links there just for you. Okay, I love you. Bye.